Let's make 10 cards today using the SimonSaysStamp card kit, and that's the March card kit, by the way. So just like always, I will show you what's included. You do get a set of those adorable dies. These are all kinds of bows that you can use to embellish your projects. Absolutely love them. And then this is the stamp set. Now the stamp set is smells like spring. It is full of little birds. You will find branches, lots and lots of sentiments to use. And there is a matching die for this one that cuts out the designs and the sentiments if you want to check that out as an extra add-on. Now you do get a 3D embossing folder, again with flowers, so it is really appropriate with the whole theme of this kit. Let's take a look at the pattern paper, and just like always, I will be focusing on the pattern paper. I will be showing you how you can use all of them to create your cards. I'm going for 10 cards today, and you will find lots of inspiration on how you can use other elements from the kit if you go to the SimonSaysStamp blog, where you will find how to use the stamp set, for example. But for me, it is always about the pattern paper, so that's what I'm going for today. So you see, you get also lots of cardstock, also glitter and shiny one. You do get a bag of 4 Tim Holtz metal tags in different shapes. You find long rectangles as well as little circles, and this silver string. So I will be using one of those in one of my cards today, just to show you an idea on how these can be used. Finally, you do get 2 pieces of white cardstock, and let's start making our cards. For the first card, I'm starting with a pattern paper that has that wreath. Now, since I'm going for a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card, this whole thing is not going to fit. That's why I made sure that I cut it out to be slightly smaller than the standard card. Now I'm playing with my circle dies, and I'm just trying to find one that fits inside the wreath without cutting out any of the branches. So I cut that out to create kind of a window, and now I'm just going to stamp the sentiments. I cut out the word note by using the matching die, but if you don't have that, you can just stamp the sentiment directly on top of your card. So this fits like so. I'm going to stamp the other sentiment to say just a note. And that's what I was saying before. If you don't have the dies to cut out the word note, you can just stamp it there. I just, since I had the die set, I just cut it out to add some extra dimension and make this otherwise simple card look more interesting. So I'm sticking down the panel by using foam tape at the back, and then I did add tiny foam squares at the back of the word note. So I'm sticking that in place. To finish off my card, I'm going to add some dots, white dots, by using my contour liner, but you can use instead some gems if you like. Simple card, but I think it is adorable. Now let's move on to the next card, and this time I'm using a rectangle to cut out a design from my pattern paper. This is going to be the main focal point since the design is so beautiful, and then just to make it more special, I'm going to use this pattern paper to cut out something that I can pop on top of my card. So I decided to go with that vase of flowers. I'm going to fuzzy cut it. I'm making sure that I don't make my life difficult, so I will use a little bit of a border all around those flowers. And then I will use a couple of foam squares at the back and stick it in place. I'm going to place it down so that it is going to kind of create a cluster along with my sentiment. And for the sentiment, by the way, I did use the word birthday, which I cut out again by using the matching die set. And again, I'm going to pop that up by using some tiny foam squares at the back. I did stamp that on white cardstock, and I stamped that with black. And for the extra sentiment, I did some white embossing, heat embossing, so that I kind of make the sentiment look more interesting and it really pops on top of my card. So I'm going to stick that there, and the card is pretty much finished. It has dimension, it is interesting, and you can finish it off by adding some gems, or I go with my contour liners. I switch them, and sometimes you see I use the white one, sometimes the iridescent, I use the gold one or the copper, but I always like to add a touch of those dots. I think it gives a whimsical look and it makes the card more interesting. And now for the third card. This time I'm using one of the busiest pattern papers in the kit, and that's my go-to technique when I'm playing with busy pattern paper. What I like to do is to cut it out into a smaller panel, so I do give something for the eye to rest. I end up having a border all around, and then I like to cut out a window. This way I have an area that isn't busy with a design, where I can add my sentiment or probably some focal points. So here I use the dies to cut out the circle, and then 2 dies, one inside the other, to cut out a little ring. For that ring I used the cardstock that was included in the kit, which is shiny metallic green. And I also cut out one of the bows, so I can combine those to create something super cute for my card. I'm sticking the panel using foam tape at the back on top of my card base, and then I will use some liquid glue all around that circle so that I can stick the ring on top. This is going to create a kind of a border. At the same time, it adds something extra to the card. Remember, this is a very simple card, like all of the cards that I'm making today, since I tried to fit 10 of them in one video. However, I like to have little details that make even the simplest of designs really extra special. So here I'm going to stick the bow as well, and the bow along with that ring give that metallic shine to the card, and a little bit of shine on a card always makes it extra special. Now I want to add something interesting at the center, and that's why I'm going to do some fuzzy cutting from the leftovers of this pattern paper. I'm going to cut out a couple of butterflies, and you will see many of those butterflies in the coming up cards. So I'm holding on to every little scrap that I have, because you never know what I'm going to fuzzy cut out of. So here I'm just stamping a little sentiment that says "What's up?" again from the stamp set that is included in the kit, and I'm going to add a couple of foam squares at the back of my butterflies and just stick them in the window. And I'm going to finish off my card by adding some golden dots at the center of some of the flowers. And I'm going to call this card done. Absolutely lovely. Here are some close-up photos where you can see the details better. And let's move on to card number 4. So for this one I will be using the pattern paper that gives you all those little rectangle images. All of them can be used as focal points on different cards. So I'm just going to show you one idea here. I like to use 2 of them so that I can layer one on top of the other. I did ink up the edges as well as fray them with my scissors. This is going to help when I pop one against the other to give more dimension. I am working on a dark green panel, and I'm inking up the edges to make them look even darker to get that vignette effect, and I'm going for kind of a vintage looking card for this one. I even inked up the far edge with black to make it look even more dramatic, if you can see. So this way I create kind of a lighter area at the center. Just grab any text stamp that you have to add some interest on the background. Now this is where my mixed media skills pop in. And I'm stamping with black permanent ink for that. Really randomly, don't overthink about it, just here and there a little bit of text will do the trick so that the background doesn't seem too empty. Now I grabbed my metallic watercolors, and this is a set by Altenew. I'm going to use the 2 green ones, both metallic ones. One is going to blend better with the background. The next one I'm going to use is going to be kind of a silver greenish one, which is going to show even more. Just add some splatters here and there, again making the background looking interesting without overwhelming it, so it doesn't look busy because I don't introduce any new colors. Now I'm going to stick one on top of the other by using foam tape, and that way I introduce a little bit of dimension, and then the whole thing I'm going to stick it on top of my green panel. Now to embellish it even more, I'm going to add one of the metal tags included in the kit, and I'm going with a white marker. This is a Posca white marker, by the way, to go all over it. This is going to make sure that the white ink goes inside the engravings, making them more easy to read. You can do that by using gesso if you have, or any white acrylic paint. Just by wiping it off, you will see that it stays inside the engraving areas. Now I do have that string, which is silver. I'm going to wrap it around 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and secure it at the back with double-sided tape, and then on top of that I'm just going to stick with foam tape at the back the metal tag. Again, I will secure the strings at the back with double-sided tape. No one is going to see that, since I'm going to stick the whole panel on top of my card base. Now I'm going to embellish the front a little bit more by adding a few leaves. This is where I'm cheating. These leaves are not from the kit. However, I'm sure that you all have some dies that cut out leaves that you can use here and there. Finishing it off with my contour liner by adding some dots here and there, and you can see here some close-up photos on this card. Absolutely lovely. And let's move on to card number 5. For this one, I'm cutting this panel at 3 1/4, creating a long strip, which is going to be the main design for a landscape card. So for the panel, I went with black, and I feel like you can go with purple if you like, or pick any of the colors from the flowers, or even white. I think that with black I make it look more dramatic for some reason, so I decided to go with that. I'm going to stick this panel on top of the black and just chop off any excess on the sides. And now from the metallic cardstock, I picked, there are 4 different colors that you get in the kit. I picked the one that is pink, and I cut out a thin strip. I'm going to stick that along the bottom of my pattern paper, where the cardstock and the pattern paper meet. This is going to add a touch of shine. And of course I'm going to use my scissors and chop off the excess. So now all that's left to do is to add the sentiment. And I zoomed in for you so you can see exactly what I'm doing. I'm stamping sending you in those label areas that are already printed on the pattern paper. So sending you big hugs that I cut out from the big sentiment dies. And then I'm going to fuzzy cut some flowers and also some leaves so that I can tuck them behind the sentiment hugs, and this way I can embellish it a little bit more. So for this flower I'm using a foam square at the back, so it is kind of dimensional. I'm going to tuck underneath a little bit of greenery. Again, I cut out everything from those scrap pieces of pattern paper that I have, but you can also cut out, if you have dies in your stash, you can cut out leaves and flowers, definitely. And also another little trick that you can do to embellish around sentiments is to use cutouts out of vellum. Vellum is very good when you want to add something extra, something dimensional, without making it too busy. And let's move on to card number 6. Again, I'm using an image from this pattern paper that gives you lots of little images to play with. I'm going to fuzzy cut that, and this is going to be my focal point. So I am going for a birthday card. I am picking my sentiments, and then I'm going to stamp those on my card base. So you see here I'm just placing temporarily the focal point, just to know exactly where I'm supposed to stamp everything, and then I'm going to use black ink and my Misty to make sure that I have a good impression. This is a big sentiment, so I need to stamp it a couple of times. And then I am going to make this panel slightly smaller than the standard card. I'm using here one of my rectangle dies, and this one specifically that I'm using has a lovely stitching all around. So by using foam squares at the back, I'm going to stick it on top of my card base, and I chose dark green as my card base for this one. I'm going to place the image on top, again by using foam squares, and I'm going to embellish it by adding one of the fuzzy cut butterflies. Now you can always add some gems or dots here and there to finish off the card. And let's move on to card number 7, and I'm going to show you another way to use those little rectangle images. So you can create a window. I'm using here one of my square dies, and you can either go with square ones, you can go with oval ones, or with rectangle ones, even stars. Depending on what shapes you have, you can create a panel with a little window, and then you can pop those images inside. So this way you make a bigger design out of something small, and it becomes the focal point. So here I have cut out this little arrangement of vases and flowers. I'm going to pop it inside that window, and then of course I have lots of space underneath to add my sentiment. Now, of course, in the kit we did get that metallic cardstock in different colors, which gives you a great opportunity to embellish your cards and add shine. So here again I used 2 dies, one inside the other, to create a little frame out of the blue metallic cardstock. And of course I did use the same cardstock to cut out one of the bows. We do have so many bow dies that you need to use them. Plus they make every design super cute. So I just stamped Missing You along with some gems to finish it off. Card number 8, and at this point I have to show you how you can use some of your scraps. So here I have a leftover from one of the previous cards, just a long strip. I'm going to place it on one of the metallic panels that I cut out, so you have a little bit of shine on left and on the right. I'm just going to stick that on top of my card base by using foam squares at the back, and then all that's left to do is to just add a sentiment. The bigger the sentiment, the better, because it's going to work as a focal point at the same time. Very simple and easy design, but it's a great scrap buster. You can use this design again and again with all your leftovers. And we are at card number 9, almost there. So here I'm showing you how you can use up many of the little rectangles from those pattern papers. Just arrange them in 4 like I'm doing here. Or if you are doing a landscape card, you can arrange them in line, just one next to another. So I do have foam squares underneath to give them some dimension. And then remember that the leftover pattern paper that I had with the butterflies, I was able to fuzzy cut 2 extras, so I can stick them in 2 of the squares. So I'm going to stick the butterflies in a diagonal, and then I'm going to add different sentiments in a diagonal again for something different. You can definitely leave the sentiment as it was. I just used some stickers I had from Tim Holtz. And it's time for card number 10. And this is going to be a really quick one. Again, working with scraps, I cut out a little panel out of that blue cardstock. I placed on top one of the rectangle images, and then I am creating kind of a cute element by adding a very thin strip of white cardstock, and I cut out a white bow using the dies. I'm just placing that there, and I think it creates a lovely focal point. You can easily recreate this idea with a bow and just switch up the different images on top. And all that's left to do is to stamp a sentiment or just add a ready-made one. I went with Celebrate, but you can definitely use any of the sentiments in the kit. So here are all the 10 cards that I made for today. I hope that you had fun, that you got inspired. Don't forget to leave a comment down below and let me know which one of the 10 cards was your favorite, or which one of the designs that I showed you you feel like you can use again and again with what you already have. So links to everything I used can be found down below in the description, just like always. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and I'll see you all next time.